something that, to be fair, all of us are talking about. This is a subject that we are really interested in. And again, we're going to have to create. People like us are going to have to create this new platform to pay talent. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, we obviously you're on this stage because you want to be friends with this community.
Yes.
You know, otherwise you wouldn't have acted and come out here. You know, that's why you're here. So let's worry that it's a great sacrifice. So who wants to talk about rates and unions and voice actors? Go ahead. You're deeply involved. You're doing it right now. You hire and you cast people.
We do.
What's that?
To answer your first question, the reason she's hired to do Subaru is because she's a human being, and because
Absolutely.
she might do it in 3 goes, but you tell her to do something different on take 2, and it sounds radically different because she's a human, good voice actor.
That's what we do
why.
every day, of course.
And so I don't think TTS is ever going to replace that human element that we were talking about, until we get to the true artificial intelligence where it can actually learn how to do it itself.
But I
Then
see
it's a
it.
different matter.
I really see it as augmenting the voiceover career. It's a
Well,
part
perhaps.
of her career. So Tish could have been recording something else. Meanwhile, she's getting paid for her inserts into Subaru. But go ahead.
So there are 2 different types of TTS from my kind of perspective. The first one is company TTS. Okay, company TTS is where a company comes to you and says, you know, it could be Ford, or it could be Google, or it could be, you know, whoever, Macy's, whatever, and you know what that's going to be for. You know the geographical region that it's going to end up being used in. They will say global, but the reality is that it will be used in America or whatever it is, you know. We know that the shelf life at the minute for TTS voices is somewhere between 3 and 5 years, because the industry is still following Moore's law, and it's still getting better and better and faster, and so 5 years' time, everything is just changed so radically they need to record it all again. So they either do what you do and stay loyal to the voice artist, but the majority of times, from my perspective, they cast again. So it's not like your voice is actually going to be used for the next 50 years. It's unlikely that that would happen. So with company TTS, you know what you're getting, you know where it's going. If it's going for Ford, you then know that you probably won't work for Mercedes or, you know, Subaru or Lexus or whoever it's going to be. But you make that decision. And you look at the price, and you look at the amount of time you're going to work for it, and you weigh up. You say, I either am going to do this, or I'm not going to do this. That's company TTS. Then there's prospective TTS. And prospective TTS, and we're seeing it a lot now, and the prices are usually really low for them, is where you've got a company which is going to record a voice, is going to formulate and synthesize a TTS, and then they're going to sell it. So they could sell it to Ford, and then you won't work for all the car companies. They could also sell it to British Airways, and then you won't work for any of the plane companies. Then they could also sell it to a train company, and then you won't work for any of the train companies. And the problem with prospective TTS is you just have no idea where it's going to go. That, coupled with the fact that it's not easy to create a TTS, but now that Google has released Google Cloud, and they've opened DeepMind up, anyone can do it in a way, and I don't mean that in any belittling way, but what I mean is that you don't have to go and create DeepMind first. They've built it for you. So there are lots of companies that can do it, and so there's more and more of these coming out. I've seen quite a few coming out of places like Poland and China, and they always kind of say, we think we know who the end client is, but we're not quite sure. Prospective TTS. You know, if they're not going to tell you exactly who it is, it's prospective. And so for you guys, the choice of whether to go and do a prospective TTS is a different matter altogether, because you've got to weigh up the financial pros and cons, but you don't know what the negative is going to be in the future. So that's why they're tricky. It's a different ball.
We're in an odd moment now because we're in between. We're really starting to understand these things.
We
Go
do
ahead.
know what's going to happen, though. If you look into the music industry, and first of all, I want to thank you for doing this panel. As a voice actor, thank you, Janie, thank you, Karin,